All right, well, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be. Welcome to the April 2019 edition of FSMA Fridays. Great to have all of you back again. Brian Sharp here with SafetyChain Software, and want to thank all of you for making some time here today to join us again. And I want to welcome a lot of new faces. It's been pretty cool. We've had a really nice uptick of folks joining the community, and hopefully you'll enjoy the topic today. But we're gonna get right into it here. Lots of good stuff to cover this month here. So for those of you that might be joining us for the first time, this is the longest standing FSMA update, and really originated, gosh, I think it's over 5 years ago, going on 6. Really focused heavily on the regulatory side as FSMA was rolling out. We've begun to expand this to cover, a lot more than just FSMA, but that's still the core of what we do here. So try and bring you up to speed on the news and reg changes, updates, but also get into some of the industry trends. And obviously, this is one of the really cool parts, is the opportunity to have some open Q&A with the experts over at the Acheson Group, who are our partners and sponsors of this, and we've put this on together since we started FSMA Fridays all those years ago. And again, just the leaders in global food safety consulting, and terrific partners of ours here at SafetyChain Software, and just feel really grateful to have the opportunity to tap into their wisdom. They're in so many sites every week, and really have their finger on the pulse of what's going on in and around the world of food safety. So a few kind of housekeeping items just to touch on here. One is, we try and keep this pretty conversational. So we want to encourage you to ask questions. We'll monitor those and have a little dedicated Q&A at the end. So don't be shy, but don't be discouraged if we don't get to the question right away. Type the question into the little question box there. It's on the right-hand panel. And we'll be monitoring those, and today Ben has offered his time to cover those at the end with any extra time we have. So you'll notice also that only the panelists are displayed, so your question's not getting broadcast. Everybody just coming into our teams here. And the number one question we always get is this being recorded? And yes, we record all of FSMA Fridays, and we share those out. Excuse me. We'll be sending out an email with a link to the recording. We also, if you're not aware, have a FSMA Fridays YouTube channel or page, I guess I should say, on our SafetyChain site there. So you can check out the entire library, not just today's recording, but going all the way back, really, since we started it. So really lots of great content there. If you have any audio issues, you can tap in either through your computer or phone. Usually if you're having an issue, the best option is to flip-flop to the other option, but we do have some folks behind the scenes that'll help you if we can. So just use your chat box if you need any technical help there. So in terms of today, we're going to touch on a quick FSMA update. There's a few things moving and grooving in that world, and then we're going to have our FSMA focus around the state's role in FSMA inspections, which is becoming a pretty hot topic, and we're starting to see some of that. So Ben's going to dig into that, and then, as I mentioned, we'll touch on some Q&A here at the end. So I'd like to introduce the man of the hour, Dr. Ben Miller. He's the Senior Director of Food Safety over at the Acheson Group, and he's become somewhat of a regular for us here, has a ton of experience in and around this on the regulation side, and obviously now as one of the key members of the Acheson Group. So Ben, want to welcome you back here.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it. It's good to be back.
Absolutely.
And, looking forward to covering some interesting material today.
There is, yeah. He's got a ton packed, so I'm going to try and get out of the way. So let's dig in first. I know, Ben, there are some updates, and you were talking a little bit about some IA rule, I think, documents. So I'll let you talk a little bit about maybe over the last month or so since we've been together, what's happening over on this side.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. I just wanted to, use this time to just talk about anything that's sort of FSMA related and those kind of updates. And I thought it would be worth mentioning for those that may not have noticed or maybe missed. Back in March, FDA released an update to the guidance document on intentional adulteration. So for food companies that fall under that portion of the FSMA rule, guidance document's been updated, and probably most interestingly, they've included some vulnerability assessment examples now as part of that update. So at the very end of the document, there's some examples in how to use these three fundamental elements, which is another part of the document that they've updated. So if people haven't had a chance to look at that and they need to, they're going to have to comply with the intentional adulteration rule. And the effective date for that for the largest companies comes into play in July of this year. So fast coming on that deadline. The guidance document's not fully complete. There's still some other portions that need to be filled out, but those focus more on small and very small businesses. So for the most part, a lot of it's there now. So if you haven't had a chance to look, just Google it, intentional adulteration guidance document FDA, and you can get the most current version. The other thing I was going to mention, it's not necessarily FSMA related, but certainly in the news, and I know people have interest in, states that have moved towards legalization of cannabis. Certainly CBD, which is cannabidiol, is an ingredient in a lot of different products that's shown up in the marketplace. And so at the end of May, FDA is actually going to have a public meeting on that, I think May 31st, talking about how and getting input from the public in terms of how it may choose to regulate some of these products. So that's out there, kind of interest to a lot of people, and so I just wanted to mention that as well.
It is, yeah. There's a lot of questions, a lot of confusion. So I think that'll be be an important one to be part of. So great. We'll try and find a link to that document you were referencing and put that up in our LinkedIn group as well. So thanks for pointing that out. That'll be helpful. So so another hot topic then is how the states play in all this, and I know there's a handful and getting started, and that's going to continue to grow. So I think this is a really timely topic, and so I'll let you kind of dig into sharing a little bit about what you guys are seeing and any suggestions you have around handling this part of FSMA inspections.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks, Brian. Before I joined the Acheson group last fall, I was the director of the state inspection program in Minnesota. So we inspected, human and animal food facilities, and we were one of the first states to start doing FSMA inspections, or human food preventive control inspections, using both state authority and also under contract with the FDA. So, oftentimes we think FSMA, we think FDA is the main inspection body. And for the time being, that's probably true as it relates to preventive control inspections for the most part, but certainly states play a role in that as well. And so I thought it'd be good just to review how do the states have a relationship with FDA? How do they enforce, FSMA overall, or how are they involved in just the manufactured food inspection process? So this will be kind of a high-level overview of that relationship, how the states sort of fit together, and there we go. So just quick background, everybody probably on the call knows, FSMA was passed in 2011, and since that time, states and FDA have been preparing to do inspections, using the new regulations. And back in 2017, FDA in a couple of states started conducting some of those inspections under, what we'll call 21 CFR 117 subpart C, which is preventive control over human food. Right now, there's about 5 states doing that work on behalf of FDA. There's also some other states doing that work on behalf of FDA for the animal food inspection work as well. That was about a year behind the human food side of the world, but there's a couple states that are in that space and doing those kind of inspections with FDA right now too. So worth mentioning as well is states are also doing produce safety inspections, and they took a little bit different approach, FDA in the states, as it relates to setting up kind of produce safety under FSMA. I think FDA recognized that a lot of state Department of Agriculture had pre-existing relationships with some of the entities that would be regulated under the produce safety rule. And so while FDA contracts with states to do these kind of preventive control inspections in human and animal food, they actually gave states grants to create inspection and outreach programs for produce safety. And that was really actually outreach focused, because a lot of the entities that will be inspected and regulated under the produce safety rule have never been inspected from a food safety standpoint before, at least not the growing side of the operation. So they took a different approach, and those inspections will actually start for those produce growers who are classified as large produce growers under the rule. Those will start pretty soon, actually, late this spring, early this summer in the states that have those grants. And it's about 41 or 42 states that will be doing that work. The remainder of states will be inspected by FDA that decided to not get a grant, but that's about all I'll touch on, at least as it relates to produce safety. So what are the state's roles in conducting and enforcing, FSMA regulations? Actually, it's interesting in the sense that it really does vary from state to state. So while many states have adopted the current version of 21 CFR, so 21 CFR 117 as it relates to preventive control inspections, some haven't. Massachusetts is an example of a state that hasn't actually adopted the new regulations. And so if they conduct an inspection under state authority at a facility, just strictly under state authority, they'll still be inspecting under 21 CFR Part 110. Obviously, that kind of creates challenges in terms of compliance and understanding, which particular aspect of the regulation are you going to be asked to comply with. That's why it's usually important, or that's kind of what I want to touch on as part of this presentation, is when you do have a state inspector walk through your door, it's really important to understand, under whose authority are they conducting the inspection. Just another point, states typically inspect more frequently than FDA. They have inspection frequencies that might be as frequent as, once every 6 to 12 months for a high-risk facility. With preventive control inspections in this industry, and, regulators understand how long those inspections may take, we may see a shift in that. That may not be feasible to do that in the long run. And so you may see some states move to conduct inspections more on timeframes similar to FDA, or you may see states conducting, more just GMP inspections rather than a full preventive control inspection. I think that still is going to play out in terms of what that's going to look like, but definitely with the length of the preventive control inspections, that inspection frequency is going to be a challenge. So state preventive control and human food inspections, there's a couple of ways states might conduct that, and that's going to depend from state to state. So they could be conducting those inspections solely using the state's regulatory authority. They might just be in there as a state using those regulations and full state authority, and they're not conducting that inspection under FDA contract. That probably isn't going to happen in the short term very often, just because, like I said, the length of those inspections, most of those will be done by states that are working under contract with FDA. So when I say under contract with FDA, that means the state has identified that particular facility as one that the state will inspect. FDA will pay them to inspect that facility, and will share that information with FDA after the inspection. That's one way that FDA is meeting its work planning obligations. They don't have enough inspectors to get out to all these facilities. The states don't have enough to get to all of them themselves. So it's definitely, they're partnering, they're teaming up, they're using those shared resources to get out and do that inspection work. And that's really what happens often under that second bullet, that These inspections can also be conducted using state regulatory authority, but on behalf or under contract of FDA. The other model is, like if we talk about Massachusetts, let's use that as an example. You have a state that hasn't adopted the newest form of regulations, but they still conduct contract inspections for the FDA. In that case, the state inspector will come and conduct that inspection actually using FDA authority, using a credential. So if that inspector walks through your door, they'll present an FDA ID, even though they're a state inspector, showing that they're conducting that inspection using FDA authority. So why does that matter from who's inspecting you standpoint? It's good to understand the authority that's being used to actually conduct the inspection that's occurring, because if there is any potential enforcement action, the authority that the inspection is conducted under will dictate what some of that follow-up authority or enforcement authority might look like. So in a lot of states, if they're conducting the inspection solely under their authority, so if it's not a contract inspection for FDA, they have different tools than the FDA has in terms of enforcement follow-up. So they have administrative authority, which means that they may be able to write corrective action orders right there at the time on site and say, you've got 10 days or 3 days or a month to correct this particular issue. So there they would be using their administrative authority. And they also have administrative penalty authority or civil penalty authority. So if you have a violation or you have repeat violations, some states will actually assess a monetary penalty against those. And so, again, understanding under what authority the inspection is being conducted is important. And if you don't know, it's a good question to ask, when the inspection is starting off. For states that would conduct using their own authority, but as part of a contract inspection, they will forward, any issues that they find during that inspection to FDA, and FDA will determine the appropriate enforcement action. So there's different classifications for violations that might be observed during those inspections, and industry is familiar with those. There's, OAI, official action indicated, VAI, voluntary action indicated, or NAI, no action indicated. There's actually a separate category for state action indicated, and that might be where the state feels like the violation would require something that's somewhat analogous to OAI, and that's a recommendation the state makes to FDA, and FDA then figures out, what do they want to do with it from an enforcement standpoint, if anything. So, and again, if the state inspector is conducting under FDA credentials, FDA is going to make that determination based on the evidence that's collected during that inspection. So what can we expect in the future? As I've mentioned, the inspection times that we're seeing for preventive control and inspections are significant. When they were starting out, they were 60-hour inspections. I think that time has come down over the last couple of years, but there's still, multiple days in the facility, reviewing records, watching production, making observations. So with inspection times that long, the inspection frequencies probably are going to decrease both for states. They're going to decrease for states versus what they used to be. FDA has to meet the inspection frequency of 3 years for high-risk facilities and 5 years for non-high-risk facilities. And again, they're going to work closely with states as part of their work planning process to make sure that, they're getting to those facilities, partnering with the states to get that work done. As I mentioned before too, states and FDA may have different requirements depending on where the state is in terms of adopting the FSMA regulation. So again, not all states have fully adopted those. So understanding, if it's a state that hasn't adopted it and they're doing a state inspection, just understanding under what authority they're doing that inspection and if preventive controls apply or not. And another reason for that is that any possible enforcement would depend on the authority that the inspection was conducted under. So Brian, that's a real quick overview of kind of the partnership between FDA and the states and some of the variability that exists there, and some of the challenges that can present just from understanding what some of the potential outcomes from the inspection might be. But happy to open it up for questions at this point.
No, thanks. And even trying to figure out who's walking through your door, what badge they have, and yeah, there's a lot going on there. So the first question, which was great, came from Bruce right out of the gate here, which I think is probably on everyone's mind, is which states are already inspecting on behalf of FDA, and what's your view on which other states are likely to come on board soon?
Yeah, great question. So Minnesota, Washington, Florida, and and I apologize, the other two are not right at the tip of my tongue. I should have anticipated that question. That's something we can certainly follow up and put out there as well. But those were some of the first states to submit inspectors to be trained, and a lot of it came down to that. I think some of the other states that are likely to come online, I think California will be one that will come online sooner rather than later as they start to train their workforce. One of the things that's, I think, challenging the states is some of them haven't differentiated their workforce. So they have people that might do a retail inspection and then do a manufactured food inspection. Well, the amount of training that somebody needs to go in and do a preventive control inspection from a regulatory standpoint is pretty significant. It's about a 2 or 3 week on-site training. So, the states that have split that workforce and dedicated staff to doing manufactured work are the ones that were able to, more quickly get their staff trained out and start doing inspection. So, some of that is going to probably push some differentiation in workforce within the states too, and that's probably going to create a little bit of a delay in terms of getting their folks out there to do that work.
Yeah, that's a good. The training parts have been another topic too, for sure, about all these inspections. So that makes sense. Another question came. Let's see, from Wendy. Now, this is a little bit kind of getting off topic, a little broader here. So do you know what is happening with the foreign suppliers inspection in regards to produce safety?
I am not sure. That's a great question. And I don't have a great answer. It's right at my disposal, but so I apologize.
That's good. We don't get to stump you guys too often. So thanks, Wendy. That's good. No, we'll get a follow-up answer to you on that and make sure it gets posted. So let's see if there's any updates there we can share with you. Another question came in from Shirley, which is, where can I get a list of which states have not adopted the new FSMA regs and still on 110?
Yeah, that's another great question. And a lot of it, I wish I could say that there was one website that you could go to and get that information. It was a struggle. It was definitely a struggle in terms of, even when I was in the regulatory world, getting everyone to answer that question. The best organization to reach out to, however, is probably the Association of Food and Drug Officials right now. They should have that information. I don't believe it's posted on their website at this point, although we can look, and we'll send that link out as part of the presentation. But, if you want to reach out to them, they should be able to help answer that question.
Okay. All right, excellent. And then, I had a question for you, given your background, which ties so nicely with this topic. I mean, do you have any advice or any insights just from your experience? I know you touched on it really briefly in the opening, but is there anything you can share just from being on the other side of this, and that could help folks that are, starting to see some of these states pop in?
Yeah, I think, again, and I've touched on this, just understanding when they're there, under whose authority they're conducting the inspection. A lot of the staff this might be their first preventive control inspection, or their second or third. They're supposed to go out. There's actually on-the-job training evaluations as part of the inspector training. So when they walk through your door, it won't be the absolute first time that they're doing that inspection, because they'll have been out with somebody else to do a joint inspection. And FDA and a lot of the states are conducting these inspections jointly too. So you're not going to have just one inspector on site. You're going to have, 2, possibly 3 if there's a training component to it as well. So, that's something to consider too, is that it's not going to be a single person. I think the other point though is that, if you find yourself in a situation where you disagree with an observation or a violation, and that's done under state authority, it's good to ask about, what the appeal process is for a particular order or observation or violation in that particular state. So, as the inspectors are new to this process, there may be some interpretation differences in what's observed or what's required, or things like that. So if you find yourself in that spot, I think it's always good to ask, say, okay, well, this is helpful. If we find that we're in disagreement with this particular observation, how might we go about, appealing that? And just getting that information is not a bad idea.
Yeah, no, and that's where you guys do a lot of your best work. So I'd also probably advise, if you're in one of those first states, reaching out to you guys at TAG would be a good option as well.
Yeah, definitely.
We have another good question. It's off this particular topic on one from earlier in the year, and if I recall, Cameron is probably our go-to guy on this one. But I'll throw it out at you, but I'll preempt it with that, so you're not too much on the spot, because it's about the Safe Food Canadian regs. So the question is, the new Safe Food Canada regs mirror the US FSMA regs except for licensing. The question is, do you know under what conditions US facilities are required to license with the CFIA to comply with Safe Food for Canadians Act?
Yes, that's definitely one we want Cameron.
No, okay. I figured.
To answer that one, I will.
Great question. Very specific. No, that's okay. Good. In fact, what I appreciate all the questions is we've been kicking around the idea of doing like a FSMA Friday fireside and get you and a couple of the other folks there, maybe Cameron on the Canada side, and do kind of a roundtable. So we'll definitely get the answers to these questions. That's what today is all about, and then we'll get those posted in the LinkedIn group. So probably a good segue just to give you guys access to some of the resources. So one, as I mentioned, not just today, but all of the FSMA Friday sessions you can find on our website on our resources page. So you can go to SafetyChain.com, and we can link you to individual sessions, also to our full YouTube channel or playlist that we've created just for FSMA Fridays. So tons and tons of great content there that you can go and search and pull up recordings and slide decks. The other, obviously, is, you talked a lot about the regs and all of these things that are changing and the complexities and trying to keep up with all the documentation and these audits that come. And that's really where we can help simplify your life quite a bit. So if you're looking for some tools to help you, automate the audit process, go paperless, and really kind of support your team in a way that helps you be more productive and profitable and maintain compliance, that's what we do. So we encourage you to check out some of our solutions for our food safety and quality at SafetyChain.com. As I mentioned, TAG, just an amazing resource. So check them out at achesongroup.com. They've got a great newsletter. It's a must-have. If you're not already subscribed to that, highly recommend that. And as I mentioned, a lot of these real specific questions, this is what they do. So I encourage you to reach out and connect with them for consultation and see if there's a way they might be able to help you there. And then kind of our joint resource we've created. If you're not already connected, we got hundreds of your colleagues on there. We have a FSMA Friday LinkedIn group. So we try and do the follow-up Q&A there that we don't get to, post articles, some updates. So definitely encourage you to join us. There's no cost. It's super easy. It's literally like 2 clicks. So just search FSMA Fridays on LinkedIn while you have your screen up right now, and we'll be posting some of these answers along with the recording here in the coming day or so. And then our next session will be at the end of May, literally, I think the day of the meeting you mentioned, so May 31st. will be our next session. And I also wanted to point out, we had mentioned this kind of real briefly earlier in the year, and we are officially rolling out the tag risk assessment tool. So we have partnered with them not just for FSMA Fridays, but now we are really excited to actually build some software around the expertise at tag that combines our expertise with quality management software. And this is a supplier risk assessment tool that really takes the tag algorithm that they use for their clients to really identify where the risks are in the supply chain. So we've got a full demo all set up. You can check it out at info.safetychain.com/tag. We'll include a link in our follow-up as well. But if you haven't had a chance to check it out, we've got a nice brief demo. I think it's about 15, 20 minutes. And it'll give you kind of a tour of what this looks like. And it's really exciting because it's something we've talked about for a long time. And we're already seeing it being used out there with great success. So something I want to encourage all of you to check out. So with that, Ben, thank you so much for the update. Thanks for joining us this month. We'll get back to all of you with some of those questions. And thank you again, Tag, for being part of this. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Thanks, everybody.
And thanks, everybody, for showing up again and spreading the word. And we'll see you again next month, and if not sooner, in the LinkedIn group. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend, everybody.